A few weeks ago, I did a poll on Instagram, just asking people what their main issues and problems are, or pain points I want to solve relating to Muay Thai. And I made a list of them because a lot of them were very similar, and I'm just going to aggregate it and answer them. So, answer the main ones, the good ones. I've got heaps on just conditioning, stamina, how to condition the legs, my cardio, and how to just improve cardio in general. And that's a super general question, but I'll give you a principle. Whatever you want to get good at, or whatever you want to improve, do that thing. So if you want to get fitter at Muay Thai, do Muay Thai. If you want to get a stronger clinch. It's as simple as that. So a lot of people, they think like, what weight training should I do that's going to improve my Muay Thai? And yes, weight training, of course, will help your Muay Thai. But if you had to choose, show up to Muay Thai training versus go do weight training, and to improve your Muay Thai, you do the Muay Thai training. The weight training, a few reasons you would choose that over Muay Thai. One, let's say you just want to balance in life. You don't want to just train 5-6 days a week Muay Thai, and you just want a bit of a balance. You want to get bigger, stronger, and you want to learn a bit of Muay Thai. All right, that's one. Two, schedule. So if you can't show up to your Muay Thai training, then you're going to do something supplementary that's going to help that out. That makes sense. And then three is if you've plateaued, like in your Muay Thai training, let's say you've plateaued in strength. This is usually like years of training, and you need more stimulation, and you've got to build up your body. Then you'll, do weight training. Weight training from the first day is good, of course, but if you only have limited time and your priority, let's say, is to get skilled and proficient and good in Muay Thai, then just invest all your time in Muay Thai. If you're not in much of a rush and you just kind of want to get strong at the same time, then do weights. But what I'm saying is anything besides Muay Thai is not a supplement for Muay Thai. So that's the main thing. If you want to get fit, cardio wise, Muay Thai, sprints and whatever circuits, or that's all supplementary. That'll all help, but it's not going to replace Muay Thai. So that's that. All right, the next one. Lots of people asking about diet and staying disciplined and just sticking to a diet or just sticking to healthy food. This one I haven't even mastered. This one's a bloody pain in the ass. So everything else is easier for me, but when it comes to food, that's a hard one. So for me, what's working now, I have to record things. If I don't measure it, I don't manage it. So when I record things, I make a game out of it. So, and then there's a lot of ways you can record. I would say the first thing is just put pen to paper, or put it on your phone, or put it in an app, what you're eating. You can count calories. I've always been against counting calories, but recently started to, and surprisingly it's working. It's keeping me on track. Yeah, that's a hard one, because we've got so many emotional attachments to food. Food is social. Going out, it's boring and it sucks when you're eating eating at home and more boring food. For the most part, it's easy enough, but as you get older, you just got to get very, very dialed in. Otherwise, you can't get away with as much, when in your 20s or 30s. Like now I'm in my 40s, one takeout meal and I got a hangover for 2 days, which just makes life a little less fun. But to answer the question, just measure it, record it, make a game out of it, find a way to do that. Firstly, just the act of recording, and I learned this like 15 years ago when I started personal training. I just make the very first thing, actually, what I used to do for clients is I'll get like a printed out paper, and I don't tell them what to eat. I don't tell them anything. I just say, all I want you to do is just record for one full week what you're eating. And then that week will end up being the the best food they've eaten, like as in like eliminating the most junk they've ever eliminated, because they're just conscious and they're just seeing what they're eating, and so they moment by moment, instead of being subconscious, they're deciding. So just just by them writing it was a big improvement. Then once they brought it in, then we'll analyze, and we'll talk about macronutrients. I'll make a little goal, a small goal. That's the most priority, the thing that I like. For example, I would say, all right, this week we're gonna eliminate sugar 50%, which is massive bang for your buck, big dividends. And then the next week they'll do that. And if they don't do it, we just stay on that for weeks until they hit 50%. Maybe I'll drop it to 30%, then they hit 50%. Then we could do a bit more. Then we'll move on to the next priority. All right, now we're going to tweak the next thing. So just little increments, just like with training, little increments. So anyway, that's what I've got to say about diet. Speed and accuracy of strikes. So I got tons of people asking about how to improve their speed. Speed comes down to two things off the top of my head. One, conditioning, and two, technique. Technique meaning like pushing off the ground, making sure your limbs are loose. Whenever you're tense, your speed drops. So imagine sprinting. Imagine sprinting and you're super tense sprinting, or swimming, tense. You're gonna go slow. Same as when you're throwing stuff, throwing punches and kicks, and so you have to be loose. And a lot of people, it's super common to be tense. You probably don't even realize how tense you are. Pushing off the ground, boom, exploding off the ground with every single strike. That's your momentum, and then your limbs are loose. So using the floor to explode up to create speed, that's huge. It's very common not to do that. Most people just step and just lift their legs instead of pushing off the ground. But that applies to checking, like blocking kicks. That applies to punching. And then just conditioning. Like if you're not conditioned, if you haven't done it, the more years you train, the faster you'll become. You'll just be conditioned. If you just started running for a few weeks or started sprinting, you're going to be a certain amount of speed. If you did proper sprint training for 2 years, you're going to be faster. So it's just time and conditioning, and of course a bit of technique. But you need to analyze it yourself, technique, or have a coach trainer to check that out for you. All right, the next one, the fear of hitting people and not hurting others during sparring. Well, at least you sound like a nice guy. You'd rather be that than the opposite. But you have to obviously get over that fear. So you already know that. Well, firstly, you got to know that if you go too light, it's not fun and it's not a benefit to your partner. So it's boring. It's boring. It's just no feedback, no challenge. So most people are not going to like that. So you're going to kind of be a sucky partner. But if you got to at least touch them. When you hit the face, aim for the forehead. Even if you accidentally hit hard, it's not going to do much damage. It's nothing. You're not going to bust their nose. So I always teach my guys, hit the forehead, because it's the same thing. If someone gets hit, they get the feedback that they got hit, but you don't get a busted nose. So why not do that? Save the busted nose for the fights. Open hand sparring, you'll be faster too, and aim for the forehead, which will make you accurate. Like if you have something specific to aim for, and then your kicks. Spar slow. If you're sparring fast, if you're just jumping in the deep end, you're not going to be able to control your body. So, if you can, spar slow, spar more controlled, start picking up the power. Ask your partner, hey, is that too hard? They're going to be like, nah, that's fine. Then you're like, okay, because maybe you just can't gauge it yourself. You just can't gauge it. You probably don't realize how soft you're going. And just communicate with your partner. All right, the next one, how to improve sparring and how to get out of your head. So I've got tons of different types of questions about sparring, but I just generalized it with the lines I wrote down. So how to improve sparring, how to get out of your own head. Well, when you spar, a good tip is focus on one thing. So have an objective. So depending on your level, I'll just make this for a beginner. So if you're a beginner, focus on on your stance, the balls of your feet, be aware of your feet, your defense, your breathing. When you bring it back home meaning, you're in your stance, you're breathing, you feel yourself, you eliminate the noise outside. And the noise being the fear, the stress, the intimidation, just all those feelings. So one, you want to bring things back home, because if you forget your awareness, you don't even know what you're doing. Start moving. When you move, you create space. When you create space, you create time. When you create time, you have space and time to breathe and relax more. So anytime you feel flustered, just create some space. So that buys you some time. So then you can breathe, so you can calm down, because you got to be calm. Always go back home. How's your stance? You're on the balls of your feet. Then the next thing, you'd go to defense. Block. Don't worry about offense too much. So the order the hierarchy, or the order I like to teach it, is your home base, which is your stance. So once you are comfortable and you're focused, once you can do the stance nice and you're comfortable with the stance, and you've got that consistently, your stance is consistent, then you add defenses. Boom. If I can't block the person's shots, I'm not going to counter well, because the block sets up the counter. So my first priority is block. Yep, I can block. Oh, I'm getting hit. Let me block. Of course, you don't want to just spend the whole round blocking, but let's say 80-20 rule. Do 80% defense, because that'll build up the confidence a little bit. Also, it'll calibrate the rhythm. You can feel there. I've done this in fights where the first round I'm just getting battered, like literally through hardly anything, because this was, I came up with this strategy once just because I wasn't trained for the fight, and I was like, I can't waste any shots. So I tried this out where, all right, all I'm going to do the first round is I'm just going to feel this person out and just feel all his shots and start catching some shots. Then the second round, I'm going to fill in those gaps. And first round, the commentary was saying I was getting battered and taking so much shots and all this stuff. And then the second and third, and picked him apart, and then won by TKO. And I always kind of use that, bring it back to training. Because sometimes your performance isn't the same. Some days it's just, you're sloppy, you feel sloppy. I'll just bring it back, back to stance. All right, tweaking the stance. Let me catch a few. Beautiful, I've caught a few. All right, let me counter. Catch, boom, boom. Beautiful, now I'm back in flow. So, I think that'll help. Mobility, stretching. All right, so heaps of people on asking about mobility, stretching, getting flexible. Obviously, it's all guys. Firstly, if you want to learn, good ways of stretching, just YouTube. But that's the obvious, but I'll give you a little tip as well, something that will help a lot. And it's not, so the stretching part, you can figure it out, go to YouTube. There's good videos out there, better than anything I'll explain. Make it, so instead of, this is a big one. So instead of taking an hour out of your day to do it because you won't do it, make it a part of your day. So for example, when I'm teaching and I'm watching, I'm sitting in a squat, I'm rotating my back, I'm stretching, I'm hanging off a bar while I'm watching someone hit bags. So when you're standing there and doing nothing, or when you're sitting on the computer, or when you're watching a movie or whatever, that's when you do your stretching. When you're waiting for an Uber, when you're, just your daily life. If you just start incorporating it into your daily life, then you can get the time in to make a difference. If you had to actually make time to do stretching, it's going to be like a 99% failure rate. Maybe 1% of you, 1% of us will be disciplined. I'm not. And I kind of like stretching. but I just do it throughout my day. But to go, yoga is amazing, of course, but I can't stand it because it's so boring. I did it for years, and then I'm just so bored that it's just so hard to get myself there, and I'm just doing it myself throughout my day, which I always have done. But yeah, that's something I would. It's good to remember, like just incorporate it into your day stretching, because it is a bit boring and tedious. All right, age. So I got a fair few about age. Age bothers you. So today is the oldest you've ever been. So you're always going to feel that, So today is the oldest I've ever been in my life. But always in hindsight, like I thought I was old at 28 when I stopped fighting. But in hindsight, obviously, I see how young I was. But I mean, it gets to a point where you're not that young. You're obviously, not as invincible as when you're younger. But anyway, all right. So when it comes to age, what normally I think stops people is they think of this grand big goal, like, oh, I can't get to that high fighter level, and then it's like almost like, what's the point? Or it's their body's not working as well as it should, or everything hurts. I'm likening this to me starting parkour at 41. I'm 42 now. So, and parkour, I could imagine, people jumping off buildings. I'll never do that. Yeah, and I mean, most likely I'll never do that. I'm pretty sure I'll never do that because I'm not setting my sights to do that. For me, when I look at parkour, if I can just do if I get to elementary level, which I can 100% achieve, I'm going to be wrapped. I'm going to be happy. If I can jump better, roll better, climb better, which I'm doing all of those, and above beginner level, which is more like, let's say, elementary level, then I've already got I think 80% of the benefits. So just think like that with Muay Thai. You don't have to be a pro fighter. You don't even have to be a fighter. If you just know how to fight, just basics, which only take you 3 months, man, that's huge for the confidence, amazing for your body physically. You're plugged into a cool culture. You get to go to fights. You meet all these people. You have, you get to go to a gym, stress relief, all those benefits. You can get at any age, and it shouldn't really mess with your head. You're just getting benefits. It's kind of like starting a business when you're late. You're still gonna make money. Yeah, you're not gonna have 50 years to compound all that interest, but you're still gonna make money. What's the other option? Just don't. So, yeah. I mean, age used to bother me when I was younger, and now that I'm older, it bothers me less. It should be the other way around. But yeah, just do it. And another thing that I like to think about, which makes me feel, which gets me focused more positively, is just whatever your age is, round it up and say, I'm gonna be, and then put this in the front. I'm gonna be a whatever the number is, beast. So for me, I'm 42. I'm gonna be a 45-year-old beast. That's my goal. You can be any age. Let's say you're 49. Well, I'm gonna train for the next 8 months to be a 50-year-old beast. You can do that. I'm gonna train the next 5 years to be a 55-year-old beast. That's pretty cool. So I find that reframing helps because it's true. All right. So nervous, scared to death to spar or fight. Well, you should be. So you're obviously not capable. That's okay. That's normal. Once you're capable, I was nervous to climb down I was scared to death. I would never ever consider climbing down 3 stories of my building because because my kid locked me out. But with a little bit of parkour training, and I actually didn't even do bouldering back then, I looked at it and I broke it down in pieces, and it wasn't as scary, and I did it, and it was like the easiest thing in the world. But months before that, you couldn't pay me to do that. I would just be terrified. So it's just exposure, experience, capability, belief, and it's training. So if you're nervous or scared to death to spar or fight, that's too far for you. Like that's feedback to say, well, don't even think about that. Just work on the basics. Just hit bags first. Learn technique first. But if you're like ahead, like let's say you've been training for a year and you're still nervous and scared to fight. Actually, I've never really had a case of that ever. So I'm doubting that it's that, because normally I see the same thing over and over the years. But if you're nervous and scared to death, if you're nervous and you're scared to death and you've trained for like 6 months plus and you're still nervous to spar, it's probably a self-belief thing, definitely a confidence thing. It's mental, definitely. I mean, obviously, but maybe it's the culture of your gym. Maybe people are bullies. I mean, without being specific, without knowing your specific circumstance and case, I can't really answer that. But in general, it's just because you're not capable. And to get capable, you just need the right training. And then once you're capable, once you can do something, it's not scary or hard anymore. It's just having the ability to do it. How to handle powerful strikes from an opponent and stay composed under pressure. So powerful strikes, you have to be extra attentive because you can't afford a mistake because you're going to get hurt. I would say create some space, move a little more. Meaning, so when you move, you don't let your opponent. I don't know if we're talking about fights or sparring because they're two different things. Let's talk about sparring because that's going to apply to most people. So if someone's throwing big power, hard shots, the more you move, the less set they're going to be. So if a punching bag is just stuck there, you can destroy it, smash it. If the punching bag is moving, let's say I push the bag and I tell someone, all right, come on, hit that. Their volume's gonna go down because they're gonna wait till the right time, then hit it. Maybe they won't hit it flush, and move. So you be that punching bag. If you move, it's gonna be harder for them to get set and land their powerful shots. So that's already taken the edge off. So the more movement, the better. Stay composed, breathe, go back to your stance like I said earlier. Keep your eyes, watch their shots, so when something comes, block, basic blocks, meaning, so you've got your default defense and then you've got like options. So to simplify that, all right, look, simple stuff like this, like I wouldn't be parrying, depending on the partner or opponent's skill level. All right, let's assume that the person's powerful and the person's got more skill than you. Then you're just gonna keep your hands up. That's it, and move, and then let the time tick. This is worst case scenario, all right. And then the more you move, the less he hits, the more the time progresses, the quicker the round ends. That's full survival mode, right? Because when you get to that point, you wanna do everything you can not to get knocked out. If you get knocked out, I mean, you should be able to survive against anyone if you know what you're doing to a degree. So you always want to finish the round. That's kind of just a personal belief or personal thing I've had forever, like since I was young. Like no matter what, I don't care who I fight, I don't care what, I always have to finish. Even if I get beat up, if I'm losing, like I have to finish the round. Even with my students, one of my biggest pet peeves, and I pull this up real quick. I'm pretty tolerant with a lot of things, but when someone's hitting the bags and they gas out and they go, and they have that break, fuck, I get an adrenaline rush. That really annoys me. It's like, oh, that's just pure weakness. Like you gotta eliminate that quick. Like that's a minimum. That's a minimum that every single person with no training has to have a little bit of strength of character to just finish the goddamn round. That means taper down your volume. So don't hit as much. Don't hit as powerfully. Do whatever you can. Be soft and slow, but stay on your feet. So that's just a general rule for anything fighting related. You know, stay in the fight. So what was the question? How to handle powerful strikes as an opponent? Stay composed under pressure. Stay composed. Go back home. You know, like, and that means going back to your stance, going back to your breath, movement. Watch his shots. Go back to defense. That's kind of like just home base. That's reset button. And when you go back here, eliminate the noise, then you start expanding again. All right, now I'm going to catch some shots. Now I'm going to counter. Now I'm going to teep when he comes in. And then if it gets a little too overwhelming, you can't think that much, go move back, suck in some air, get some space physically, get some space mentally. All right, now I can start adding some stuff back in my mind to get the fight moving. And then the last one, mentally be more active on this one is an interesting one. So a mental problem, be more active on offense instead of waiting to counter. So just be more active offensively instead of just waiting to counter. So you got to take risk. Sometimes people, that's a comfort zone. That's what it is. You're in a comfort zone. You got to take risk. And so risk is this. You're sparring and you're like, oh, I don't want to throw this, but you're like, I'm just going to throw it anyway, and just accept that you might get clobbered. Then you'll throw something. You start first. Maybe you'll get clobbered, maybe you won't. But you got to break that barrier. Sometimes you need to get hit. You know, you got to take risk. Obviously not with someone that's going to knock you out. You know, it's a calculated risk. So, you know, if you get a busted nose or whatever, you know, you just got to take a risk. That's the main one for that. Take risk, then then you're pushing your edge. You know, you've done this much. Now your confidence will grow this much. Maybe next one you'll take even more of a risk, and then your map will grow, and you'll be like, oh, actually, it's not the unknown over there. Me doing something like taking this risk, it's not that bad, and then you'll get better overall. So you have to be able to, you know, play the counter game, play the aggressive game. You want to have all the different aspects when you fight, or different tools, or different styles. So you don't want to be just stuck in one style. Although, when you're starting, you pick one style, you get good at one style, then you start adding. You don't want to learn like 4 languages at the same time. Learn one language first, get good at one, then add another. But know that you should add another, even though if you do fight, or when you do fight, you'll use the one style. It's very good to know many different styles. And that's what a lot of people don't see. Like when they watch fights and they see fighters with one style, you don't know that in the gym, they can switch it up. Like, you just don't see it. But for me, I like knowing a lot of different styles and teaching different styles. So you have different tools depending on who you fight. You know, it's like different ways of conversing with people. So, all right, that's it. That's plenty. So I'm sure some of that would have helped some of you. And cool. I guess we'll chat next time.